This is an Arduino with a temperature sensor. I want to gather some data in a room over several days and look at the data on a graph. 'Cause why not? According to its datasheet, the sensor uses the I2C interface to relay the temperature data. Has a default address of 72 if we set the last 3 bits to 0, and transmits the temperature using 2 bytes but doesn't use the last 5 bits. So, let's get the sensor hooked up to the Arduino. First, it'll need power, positive, negative, the address pins connected to ground to set them to 0, and connect the clock and data pins to the respective ones on the Arduino. Because the I2C interface only knows how to bring the clock and data buses to the ground, we need to add so-called pull-up resistors so as to pull the buses back to the plus. This way the buses can have a 0 state when grounded and a 1 state when connected to a positive power supply. And please make sure you connect everything to the same power supply so you don't accidentally fry the CPU, and to have a reliable communication on the I2C bus. Programming this thing is actually way easier than I thought. I'll be using VS Code with a Platform I/O extension that you can install from the Extensions tab. And I'll create a new Platform I/O project using the WeMOS D1R1 board. To get started with a program for an Arduino, we need a setup and a loop function, both of which are Arduino default functions, just like the main function in any C program. Both functions are somewhat self-explanatory. You use the setup function to literally set up anything you need for the program, like input and output pins, and the loop function is for the main code that will be executed over and over again. For our program, we'll first need to import the Arduino along with the LM75 temperature reading libraries, which the sensor library has to be installed first, and it's a bit of a quirky process on VS Code. We need to go into the platformio.ini file and in there add this line. Last thing before the setup function, initialize our specific temperature sensor class. Now we can quote-unquote set up everything, which really all we need is a way to display the temperature somewhere and a way to get the temperature. So for our setup function, we'll quote-unquote begin or initialize the wire library to read the temperature, and the serial library to be able to display the temperature on our serial port monitor. Last part, the loop function. We'll get the temperature from our sensor with the read temperature C function and print it right out, as well as add a small delay so as not to overload the processor. Make sure the Arduino is connected to the computer, upload the code, and it works! Next thing will be to figure out how Wi-Fi UDP transmission works on an Arduino, but that's for another video. For now, thank you so much for watching, keep on learning, and I'll see you in the next one. To do that, we'll get the distance from the eye center to the mouse